Hey everyone, welcome back to the Homestead, and thanks for joining us on this video. But man, it's a beautiful morning, but it's humid. I mean, I know we've got some really hot weather coming in the next couple weeks, but yesterday was pretty warm. It was humid, and it was overcast all day, so I had to run off my lithiums pretty much throughout the whole day for the AC. But we've got some sun coming out. It looks like it's going to be a good day for some solar panels, so we'll charge all that up. I won't have to run my generator today, hopefully save some gas. But let's go in and get some breakfast first before we start this video. So let's go ahead and make some breakfast before we start our day. And you know, when I start my day, having a good hearty breakfast, it makes all the difference in the world. And I want to tell you about what I use sometimes when I want something quick and easy, especially when I'm camping on the road, is this right here. This is Mamu's Camp Kitchen, and they're based out of Louisiana. Paul Murray does a lot of catering, and they do freeze-dried meals. And this one right here is the Delta Lagniappe biscuits and gravy. And it's fresh biscuits smothered in special homemade bacon sausage gravy. And it's pretty good. This thing has about 410 calories. You can feed 2 people off this. If you want to fry up an egg and then put this on, you know, the biscuits and gravy over it, you can do that as well. But this is a hearty breakfast, and you can check them out in the description box below. I'll put their links and everything. And if you use the promo code, you save 10%. But yeah, let's go ahead and make our breakfast this morning. So once you got done adding your water, a 1 1/4 cup of water, you go ahead and reseal it and let it heat up and cook. And I think I'm going to go ahead and do some eggs with that, fry up some eggs. So I do have my 12-volt fridge running in my truck. So I keep that running all the time, and it's off of solar. It goes into my 12-volt system. I think maybe I'll just do 2 eggs this morning. Okay. And this right here is my refrigerator from a company called Travoca. And it's a 12-volt dual zone, so it has a freezer on one side, or you can make it all freezer or all fridge. Right now I've got it set up for all fridge. And I don't need the freezer because I don't have any frozen meat in there right now. But this thing's been incredible. I've been using it for 8 months straight, 24/7. It's so quiet, so efficient. And like I said, I run it off my 12-volt system on my truck. In fact, I think I need to pull the truck out here and start charging up my solar panels. Oh, how do you get 2? That's crazy. I've got 2 yolks out of 1 egg. Have you guys ever seen that? Hope it's not a mutated egg. Let me show you guys. It's really funny. Look at that. That's 1 egg right there, and I cracked that open. There was 2 yolks. Huh. Maybe I got a brother and sister. Ooh, that thing looks so good. All right, let's put our biscuits and gravy in here. Biscuits and gravy and egg. That's a hearty meal, and that's so simple to cook. Man, it's already getting humid. I might have to run the AC earlier than I thought it was. And come on, let's go eat. There, you can have some. So. Since the sun's out, let's go ahead and get our solar going here. Okay, we got our solar coming in right now. The sun's about to come out, but when it starts to charge, that green button will light up. So today's project, we're going to mount some batteries and an MPPT solar controller. Now, when LiTime found out that I had a 12-volt split unit AC, they asked me how I was going to power that up, because I have a 48-volt big system here. And, I told them that I wanted to run it off a separate solar system just for these batteries itself and a solar controller. Now, how I'm going to charge these batteries is using a battery charger, also from LiTime. That will be hooked up to my batteries, which will be in parallel as soon as I get the cables in. And I'll show a little bit more better install when that comes in. But for today, we're just going to do the MPPT solar controller. This is a 30 amp, and run the batteries to the battery charger. Now, several of you are going to say, why don't you just plug the battery charger into the wall outlet, which is connected to the 48-volt system? Yes, that's what I can do, or that's going to be a second option. But I want to run my air conditioner off a separate system just to run it during the day, but if there is inclement weather, then I could shift over to the big batteries. Now, these batteries are 12.8, 200 amp hours, and they sent 2. Now, that equivalents to one of these Flex batteries, which is 5,120 watt hours. So these 2 batteries equal one of those batteries. Now, the split AC system from OutEquip Pro pulls about 400 watts on Eco mode, which is what I usually put in the middle of the night. But since it's been warmer, I've been bumping it up a little bit, and it's been using these batteries quite a bit. So my plan or goal is to charge the batteries during the day and run the unit off of solar, and then at night shift over to the battery system. Like I said, it runs 400 and somewhat watts, so I'll probably get four hours out of each battery. So these are 8 hours for total. I do have a bigger battery underneath, but like I said, if I had to, I can just plug it in, the battery charger, to the 48-volt system. So this is the setup from LiTime. Let's start off with the MPPT Solar Charge Controller. This is a 30 amp controller, and how it will work is I'm going to mount this on the back wall, and you got these connections underneath. You have from the solar panels, the batteries, and then accessories. So the solar panels are going to come into the MPPT controller. They're going to come out where these batteries, positive and negative, and that wire is going to connect to the batteries. Now, these batteries will be wired in parallel, meaning positive to positive, negative to negative, and then negative to the controller, positive to the controller. Now, I may be using this accessory. I may put some 12-volt lights to that, but right now I probably won't leave anything in here. Now, this 30 amp MPPT controller can do 12 volt or 24 volts. It's an awesome controller. I have one of these in my truck in Sarge. And then we'll come down to the new 12.8 200 amp hour LiTime batteries. Now, when I say this is a smart Bluetooth, this is all Bluetooth. This is the extra mini, so it's smaller. And I can monitor everything on my phone with the state of charge on both these batteries. Now, I'm planning to mount this MPPT solar controller probably about here. And that way I can have my wires run down and out for my solar panels. So the 30 amp MPPT controller has all the hardware for mounting the screws, the ferrule caps and everything. All I got to do is get the cables. Now LiTime used to put cables in their boxes with their batteries, but they found out that the cables were either too small, especially if you're building a system just like that I have here. You got to use thicker cables or longer cables, and they were only, I think, supplying 10 gauge at 12 inches long. But for this, I plan to mount it somewhere around here. That way I can monitor everything in the system. Now I'm going to enclose a wall here, so you won't see any of this stuff when you're in the cabin. But you know, let's go get some drills and let's go ahead and mount this MPPT controller. Now, a lot of you probably ask why I went with the 200 amp hour 12.8 battery. Well, first of all, this is the extra mini because it's so small. Back in the day, this 200 amp hour probably came up to about here and was twice the weight. But this also has that 5.0 Bluetooth smart, and you know, I can monitor everything off of my cell phone. So this is a great option, especially if you're struggling with a bulky battery. So don't let this mini size fool you. The LiTime 12 volt 200 amp hour extra mini pairs with another battery, giving you double the power. Now 2,560 watt hours together makes 5,120 watt hours. So the two of these batteries in parallel are going to be pretty awesome. You know, it's for heavy load appliances. Like I said, I'm going to run my air conditioner. I'm going to turn it on here in a little bit because it's starting to get a little bit humid today. But these batteries are made for RVs, off-grid living, homesteading, and you know, the little size. I mean, LiTime makes some great power in small packages. Now, I'm not going to be able to hook up everything today because I'm still waiting for some cables and some circuit breakers and fuses from the Solar Angler in Georgia. But how it's going to happen is these batteries going to be wired in parallel, meaning positive, positive, negative to negative. But the battery cables that you're going to use need to be a little bit heavier gauge. We are going to go with 4 gauge wire. Now, using a 10 gauge on these batteries to wire them in parallel is a absolute no-no. Now, like I mentioned earlier, LiTime does not include cables in their batteries anymore because a lot of these systems are based on how you are going to set up your system. You got to take in consideration the voltage and the wattage from your solar panels, the input coming in, the input from the batteries going to your equipment. So it used to come with M6 bolts with the 10 gauge wire, which was way too small. And they were starting to overheat those wires. And just for testing purposes, I did that yesterday just to see how hot it would go. I think within 30 seconds, the wires started to get warm. So the bigger gauge, you know, more current, more flow through there. In our next video, I will show you how I hook these up in parallel and some of the equipment and the safeguards I put in place. Because, like I said, you don't want this thing to burn each other out. You don't want the batteries to fail and all that stuff. So putting the proper safeguards, using the proper equipment is very, very vital. And the Solar Angler he's actually making proper cables for me, and they're going to be all the same length, just like how you see in this 48 volt system right here. All the cables are all the same length, positive, negative. I mean, we're talking circuit breaker, bus bars, disconnects. You know, so hopefully all that stuff, all those items will be here next week so I can go ahead and run this system. Right now, all I'm doing is charging the batteries using a 12 volt I believe it's 40 amp battery charger. It takes a little bit to charge it up, but you know, until then, that's what we got to do. And you know, like I said, I've got the big system here, the 48 volts. As you can see, that green light's blinking. That means I've got power coming in from the solar. I'm only using 32 watts right now, so I'm getting free power. So, but anyway, if you got any questions, put them in the box below. I know this has just been a video just to show you what I do, what I've been doing here at the homestead. So I appreciate you guys watching and subscribing. And until the next video, this is Off Grid Gumby out.